Hey, good morning, welcome to Foreigner in the Philippines. So I'm on my way down the hill, going down to pick up my friend Wilbert, who is visiting us from Macau. I'm just trying to film and do thanks very much to my suicide knob, as they say in America, but it's very useful to me. So I'm just reversing down. Not my favorite thing to do, but we've got so many materials now for so many of the projects that we're doing, some of them for Lena. Okay. And I'm in four-wheel drive, so I should be able to do this. Down what used to be called a tunnel. Used to be called a tunnel because, as you can see, the high sides, I'm repeating myself, but we have so many new viewers that lots of you guys haven't seen any of this before. So I thought I'd do a video going down. This is down to the bridge that we built. We were forced to build this part of a concrete road here. Very happy to see that we got a delivery of brick. That's good, that's all to be used. Right now we have so many building projects on hand that we could just keep bringing in new material and it will be used up like mad. We haven't had very much rain. When we've had rain, it's been sporadic. So the road has now dried out nicely, but of course, because we had so much rain and it was so saturated, it has become quite rutted. That's usually the site that we have materials dropped off if they feel that they can't make that last stretch of the road, which is understandable. So here we are. This is still our road, the road that we put in. Turn left of the Gemelina tree. Believe it or not, this was all mapped out by my brother-in-law, Rado. Pointed him in the right direction. He forged this road here with his carabao. Not a man to go weak in the face of a challenge. And this was always a challenge here, but before the grader came in was an exciting roller coaster ride. Now all of this was done by the grader to a much better state. And that there is the road that goes up to Oping. Oping is our neighbour, and it goes up past Oping's to another barangay. There are lots of other people living up there. All of this road was done by the grader, courtesy of a very dear friend who prefers to be known by a code name, and we call him the Shepherd. Thank thank you, my friend, for doing this, because it helped so many people. Now this ride I never take for granted. Look how beautiful that is. Now the thing about this path is that while it does seem like a very simple, got a fly buzzing around there, while it does seem like a very straightforward path, there's a very slight camber to the left, and when this road gets really saturated, this is not a road to be taken for granted. If you start relaxing on this, you can very quickly slide off and go off to the left, and actually there's nowhere to go to the left. It's what I call roly-poly time, and the truck, rather than driving down the hill, which would be controllable, it'll just tip over, it'll turn over, and then it will roll. So you really don't want to take any of this for granted. Very easy to come unstuck. This part is where very rocky, the ground is very rocky under that hill, as you'll see when we're going around. Now, you can understand why, looking down there, you can understand why Beth is only doing 5 miles an hour in first gear, because you cannot afford to make a mistake. Very easy to slip off and slip down there. This is not the time to be thinking that you can change up and speed along and do the same kind of trip that you see on YouTube, where they're willing to write off the vehicle and they've got full roll cage, and well, they're extreme sporting, aren't they? And we're not. We're just doing our everyday thing. Going to and from work, going to and from town. That used to be our old road there. Brought this new road in here. And this, as you can see, is well dried out. Up on the left there, perfect place to have a house. That's what we call the secret house. Little story on the secret house is the family that were building that house were stuck, and they were stuck at the skeleton stage, where it was like Nanai's house is at the moment. All that was there was just a framework, and they were stuck because they couldn't afford to bring in the material, the macon, to do the cladding. Now I don't know whether you can see it, but down there I can't see what you can see, because the light is so strong, the sun is so strong, that I can't see the viewfinder. So I see a very, very thin dark line, and I assume that you're able to see the house there. There's a house tucked away. Can I zoom it and still get away with it? I think I'm looking at the house. Now that house is where this family were in. I think I've gone back. Alright, so that's where the family were living, and they somehow had access to this land. It goes up the back there, and they were able to build that house. There's no electricity, no running water, have to bring everything in, and they were stuck. So Beth and I were passing it every day and seeing that it wasn't moving, and it wasn't hard to guess what was happening. So we decided that as a secret we would come in and put the cladding on, just bring the Superman team in, swoop in one day, because obviously the family were not living there, and of course they would quickly find out they would quickly find out. It wouldn't be a secret for long, but it was just a fun idea that we could do a kind deed and then move on without waiting to be thanked. A little bit like the Lone Ranger. Who was that man? That was the Lone Ranger. Nobody ever got to thank the Lone Ranger because he disappeared without being thanked. Now this part here, this used to be so very, very difficult because it was a bad drainage point, lots of water. The road itself would be in a terrible shape, and we got stuck. I mean, really stuck here quite a few times, down to and unable to move. It took quite a bit to get us out of that. But that was at the time when the 4x4, the four-wheel drive, was not working, and we didn't actually know that that was the case. Later those faults emerged and they were cured. Over there, now isn't that beautiful? For me, I look at that and it takes my breath away every time. And there are some, I can show you some higher mountains up there. Always beautiful. And over on the other side you can see, if you can see the dark shape, which is so much higher than the green line that you can see. Now that's Cebu. And you can see the water in between us and the next smaller island. Now this road has been extremely punishing on our vehicles. We have a lot of breakdowns, we have a lot of repairs, because the vehicles that we have are what they call, in the Philippines, what they call surplus, meaning that they've already had a life. So anywhere else, if it was America, it would be, they'd have dressed up the idea to be previously owned. I always used to call them second-hand, but that was in the UK, and the Americans are incredible at creating these wonderful phrases which cover the most horrendous things. When they go in with a bomb and they hit a target with one of their drones, anybody that gets killed that wasn't supposed to get killed is collateral damage. Isn't that a wonderful way to put it? And of course there's always the terminated with extreme prejudice. An economical with the truth. How about that one? Well, anyway, that's among the wonderful things that they do. Now the land is always changing, like what you've just been watching is a red clay, red soil. It changes very little. Those ruts in the road stay that way. Now we're almost at the road now, so I'll finish my little meander. We're now passing another place where you really don't want to be focusing on something other than the road, because off down the right there is a nasty surprise waiting for you. Okay, now up there, maybe you can see it, is the haunted house. It's not haunted, but Beth always says that anything that's been abandoned and left like that, there must be something that's not quite right there. And the mango trees in an area like that can be haunted as well, so they can have evil spirits, or spirits, let's not call them evil. I always try to remind myself of what I'm looking at here. And what I'm looking at is a road that goes through very, very pretty country. Look at that down there. There's a well down there. So people here, if they are still using that well and haven't piped the water up, then they would have to, well, they'd have to go down there and walk it back up, wouldn't they? There's a nice little traditional looking house there, and a very nice non-traditional house. So lots of work going on here. These are very good gardens, beautiful gardens. Now this was one of the roughest parts ever to get up, and now it's much better, but we're back to a bad drainage point again. These are places that we have earmarked. We have those places earmarked for concreting at some future date, but that requires some financing that we don't have right now. But as I was saying about the vehicles that we have, the two main vehicles, we accept that the Little Red is going to be breaking down because it breaks. It's only Little Red. And it's not designed to take the kind of punishment that we hand out. But the other two vehicles, I love driving the Big Blue right now, and I absolutely love driving it. It is a beautiful truck to drive, but it is a surplus. Now if this was only being used on the road, I think it would be absolutely perfect. Give perfect service, beautiful ride. It's really, really nice inside, as you perhaps can see here. If I turn the camera around, no, we've got a cover there that's actually come off, but it's really nice. Seating is all beautiful. It's got a stereo, it's got AC, it's got electric windows. It's got everything that you could need. It has all little tiny things which are really good. Place to put your sunglasses, would you believe? There. Morning. So we will not be happy to get rid of it, but I think it's come a time to get a new vehicle. We can't afford a new vehicle right now, of course, but if we sell this and the bus, then we should be able, in a few months of saving, hard saving, we should be able to buy a new truck, a brand new truck with guarantees, and I think that that's really what we're looking at doing. Here we are now, we're at the National Highway, and I've got to get out now and change the hubs over. So here's the lever for the transfer case, and now it's out. I'll switch off just in case. Handbrake on. Now I have, after a few times of trying to do these hubs, after we'd been through a river of mud, I went and I got a local worker to, there we are, let's unlock the hub, the manual, and we're doing the same again here. I got this little tool made up, nice clean handle, and even if these things are drenched in mud, which they usually are, I am still okay. So that cost me $2. The man welded it up. I gave him the bits and told him what to do, showed him the hub, and perfect little tool, $2. So we never ever got the winch fixed up, but that's a very simple job for a new owner, and it's a big plus. It's all welded in and put in place. Now I keep my little tool there and get up. It's a bit of a toll. It's not an old man's truck for getting in and out of, that's for sure. So on with the next part of the trip. The little dog there is not going to be moving until he absolutely knows he has to. How cool can you be? Thanks for looking in. This is a farmer in the Philippines. Look at those beautiful gates before we go. We had the guys who made those gates came up and did our railing, our enclosure for our pool. Very nice work. They were very good. Expensive, but very good. So, bye for now.